Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, we'll be discussing certain details about the types of loss that we have in consignment account. So when we speak about types of loss, we basically have two kinds of loss to deal with when it comes to consignment account. The first one will be normal loss, the second one will be abnormal loss. Now to highlight the difference between them, normal loss is something that we expect to happen. It is like the wear and tear of certain goods or wear and tear or certain loss in transit which happens daily, or rather certain things that you expect something to happen with those goods. In the other way, abnormal loss is something that you don't expect and it happens all of a sudden. Now, normal loss can be called as frequently happening loss. Abnormal loss can be called as non-frequently. That means something that doesn't happen on regular basis. So to note down the points of differences, let us mention certain differences here regarding normal loss and abnormal loss, and you will understand the basic concept of both these losses with small examples related to this. So to give you a basic example, we have mentioned certain examples here, or rather certain illustrations here. Now as we know that normal loss is unavoidable in nature, abnormal loss is something accidental in nature. Normal loss happens every now and then whenever the goods are sent for consignment, or rather whenever the goods are in transit towards consignment. Abnormal loss happens in cases when the damage is beyond repair. So you need to understand that the abnormal loss is not frequent. However, normal loss is frequent in nature. To give you an example here, how to define the cost and how to calculate the same thing has to be understood with certain examples. So let's figure out the example for normal loss here. The example states that 10,000 kilo of apples are sent out to consignment. Per kg cost is 30 rupees. On top of that, we have 40,000 rupees being sent out as a freight charge. Now, it states that 15% of normal loss is unavoidable. That means by default we'll have 15% of normal loss here on the quantity of the goods being sent out. So that means whenever the cost of per kg is supposed to be analyzed, it is not supposed to be analyzed on the basis of 10,000 kgs. It is supposed to be based, or rather it is supposed to be find out on 10,000 multiplied by 15%, which is 1,500 will be subtracted from 10,000, which will give you a cost of 8,500 kg of apples. So now the total cost, that is 30 per kilo multiplied by 10,000, that gives you 3 lakh rupees, and the freight that will be added to it, that is 3,40,000, will be divided by 8,500 rather than 10,000, and that will give you a cost of per kg apple. So that means the selling price of this specific apple will be more than 40 rupees rather than the actual price, which is 30 rupees. So instead, whenever a normal loss happens, instead of selling it out at 30 and then understanding what is the profit or loss, you have to make sure that the actual cost of the production should be taken into consideration after the normal loss has been taken into consideration. So in this case, it will be anything that is sold out over and above 40 rupees per kilo will be a profit. Anything sold out below 40 rupees will be a loss. Now let's hop on to abnormal loss and understand how the calculation goes there. As we know that it's accidental in nature, so it doesn't happen all of a sudden, or rather it doesn't happen every time. We understand that these are certain rare cases or rare scenarios a business has to go through or a consignment has to go through. So let's hear it out with an example down here. Supposingly 10,000 machines are sent out, which each cost of 2,500 plus a 10,000 freight on it. That means a delivery charge of 10,000 on it. Now due to some abnormal loss, we figured out that 20 units, that means 20 machines, are beyond repair. That means they're damaged so much that they are beyond repair and cannot be sold out again. So out of that whole machines that we had, 20 are almost gone and cannot be sold out. So to ascertain the cost of those 20 units, you have to take the cost of that specific machine plus the expense sent, or rather expense incurred to send those 1,000 units or 1,000 machines in the first place. So 20 units into 2500, that is the basic cost. Now the other expense, because when it was sent with bearing the cost of those 20 units as well, so we have to figure out that abnormal loss has to be taken out of the question. So that specific thing has to be noted. So the expense which has been done for freight also includes the expense of these 20 units. Now that has to be taken out. So 10,000 is the freight expense for 1000 units. So per unit it will be somewhere around 10 rupees per thing. So for 20 units it will be 200 rupees. Now to understand the total loss that we have suffered, it is 50,200. Hence, when we figure out that this total loss has to be figured out, this 50,200 will be the abnormal loss that the company or the consignment has bear. So this is the major difference between normal loss, which is unavoidable, and abnormal loss, which is avoidable but happens due to some or the other mishap, mostly during the transit times or mostly when the goods are stored before they are being sold out. Maybe like in some gold on, if you have stored it, they might get perished, or they might get burnt, or they might get damaged by any of the reasons that may be in the question. So this is what you need to understand when it comes to types of losses. Rather, when it comes to types of losses, there are only two types: normal and abnormal. Now to deal with this, we'll be having certain illustrations that we'll be doing in the further videos, not right now. But hence, when we understand that these details are supposed to be included, normal and abnormal has to be treated in their specific way and cannot be clubbed or merged together. It might happen that in a question you might figure both these things coming up together, but that doesn't really mean that you have to club it together and then make sure the details. But in a question, if both of these things club together, it will be a wrong answer for you. So separate it accordingly, calculate the normal loss first, then the abnormal loss, and then go ahead with the actual calculation of the cost per unit. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned with Ekeeda and keep subscribing to Ekeeda.